In New York City, a massive fight is brewing over a really simple question. Who gets to buy an apartment building? There's a new bill on the table that's got community advocates on one side and the real estate industry on the other in a showdown that could totally reshape the city's housing market. And it all comes down to one thing, the Community Opportunity to Purchase Act, or, as everyone calls it, COPA.
So let's just start right there. When a residential building goes up for sale in New York, who should get the first crack at it? Right now, it's pretty much always the person with the most money. The highest bidder wins. But this new bill, COPA, wants to flip that script and give a completely different group the first right of refusal.
Now you might be wondering, why is this even on the table? Well, to get that, we need to zoom out a bit. This proposal didn't just appear out of thin air. Nope, it's a direct response to a housing crisis that, for a lot of New Yorkers, has really hit a breaking point.
Okay, so if you're a supporter of this bill, these are the numbers that keep you up at night. They're looking at a city where 200,000 black residents have been pushed out in just 20 years, where you see 84,000 eviction filings in 1 year, and get this, where a tiny 5% of real estate companies own almost 90% of all the rent-stabilized apartments. For them, this isn't just a market working itself out, it's a full-blown crisis that needs a radical new solution.
So, what is that new solution? Let's get into the nuts and bolts of what's actually being proposed here. This is the Community Opportunity to Purchase Act, or COPA. Let's break down exactly what it is and how it would really work in practice.
At its heart, the idea is pretty simple. COPA is all about giving certain community groups, think nonprofits or community land trusts, a special advantage, a leg up. When the owner of a building with 3 or more apartments decides to sell, they'd have to tell these groups first, giving them a really critical head start. Now, this isn't an instant thing. It unfolds over a pretty specific timeline. First, the owner tells the city and these groups, hey, I'm thinking of selling. The groups then get 45 days to say, you know what, we're interested. If they are, that triggers an exclusive 90-day window where only they can make an offer. And here's the real kicker. Even if the owner says no to their offer, for the next year, that group gets a final chance to match any other offer that comes along. It's a whole process designed to give them a real shot.
So you can see why supporters think this is a game changer. For them, this entire process is about creating a path for a totally different kind of owner to step up. Let's look at the vision they're painting for what COPA could do for the city's neighborhoods. And this quote from Jenny Dubnow really gets to the heart of that vision. She says it would help transform housing. That's the key word. The goal isn't just about changing who buys a building. It's about changing the building itself into something that serves the community forever, permanently affordable housing.
So the dream here is pretty clear. Advocates see COPA as a way to fight back against big money investors who just want to buy buildings and flip them for a quick profit. They believe it gives local folks a real chance to take control of properties in their own backyards, lock in affordability forever, and really put people over profits.
Okay, so that's the optimistic take. But, and this is a very big but, not everyone is singing that tune. For many, many property owners and real estate pros, COPA isn't an opportunity. It's a potential disaster. So let's flip the coin and look at the very different, very worrying picture they're painting.
And here's the other side of it, put very plainly by Ann Korchak, who speaks for small property owners. The big fear here is that this isn't just going to hurt some giant faceless corporation. They're worried it's going to crush the little guys, the mom-and-pop landlords who own so much of the city's housing.
And if you want to understand their biggest single worry, it really comes down to this number. 180 plus days. That's half a year. Adding up all those notice periods and waiting times could freeze a property sale for 6 months or more. For someone who needs to sell fast, maybe they're in financial trouble or they inherited a building, that kind of delay isn't just an annoyance. Opponents say it could be absolutely catastrophic.
And the list of concerns just goes on. Opponents are worried this will scare off regular buyers, which would drive down property values. They're worried banks might get nervous and stop lending. They're asking if the city's housing agency can even handle all this extra work. And they're even questioning whether the nonprofits are really ready to be landlords, warning that they could end up going bankrupt trying to manage these old buildings.
So let's just lay it all out, side by side. It's like everyone is looking at the same exact bill, but seeing two completely different realities. What one side calls leveling the playing field, the other calls freezing the market. One person's tool for community stability is another person's bureaucratic nightmare. They fundamentally disagree on pretty much every single point. So, with two sides that are so completely at odds, where does that leave us?
Is this just a big debate, or is this bill actually close to becoming law? Let's take a look at the political reality on the ground.
Well, check this out. The bill has 34 sponsors in the city council. Now, in politics, that's a huge deal. It's more than enough for what's called a veto-proof supermajority. In plain English, that means they have the votes to pass it and even override the mayor if he tries to stop it. So, on paper, this thing looks like a slam dunk.
But, and this is the twist in the story, it's not a slam dunk. In fact, right now, it's completely stalled. The bill has been laid over in committee, which is just legislative speak for being put on pause. So despite all that support and all the fierce debate, the bill is basically just sitting in limbo.
And that brings us right back to the central burning question. Is COPA the brilliant new tool New York needs to build stable, affordable communities? Or is it a dangerous obstacle that's going to throw the entire housing market into chaos? The debate is far from over, and whichever way it goes, the answer is going to shape the future of who gets to own a piece of New York City.